You know that one person who never raises their voice. The world is literally burning down around them, and they just breathe. No panic, no desperate urge to prove they're right. While everyone else is screaming into the void, trying to make sense of the chaos, they just watch. It's heavy, isn't it? That specific kind of quiet. You look at them and you realize they've already survived this exact destruction before. You've met someone like this. It feels like a chilling stillness is wrapped around them like physical armor. No matter how bad things get, they remain untouchable. But true detachment isn't born, it's forged. We look at these serene individuals and think they're cold. We think they're lucky. But the reality is much darker. They used to be just like you. They were chronic overthinkers once. They cared until it bled. They stayed up until 3 a.m. suffocating under the weight of things they couldn't fix, trying desperately to please people who didn't care. Cold sweat, a dry throat, a forced smile. They broke their own spirit against a world that wouldn't bend, until one day, the agony taught them a brutal lesson. You can't control the ocean. You can only learn to float. Think about the nights they spent staring at a blank ceiling. The room is dead silent, but their mind is screaming. Did I say the wrong thing? Why did they look at me like that? It's an exhausting, endless loop of mental self-sabotage. Every single social interaction felt like a high-stakes test. They were constantly failing. They used to sacrifice their own sanity for people who wouldn't even offer a polite glance. They poured their soul into empty vessels, hoping that if they gave enough of themselves away, they'd finally feel chosen. But the only thing they got back was a hollow chest. This isn't some textbook definition of emotional regulation. It's a survival mechanism. When you've heard enough, you stop fighting internal monologues that don't care about your tears. You learn to just stand still while the downpour destroys everything around you. Calm people aren't emotionless robots. They feel the anger burning in their chest, the sadness pulling them into the deep end, the terrifying weight of uncertainty. But inside their head, a quiet voice speaks. It's not blind optimism. It's memory. They remember the nights they thought they wouldn't survive, and they know that panic has never once sped up the healing. There's a beautiful, terrifying power in that kind of restraint. It means realizing that not every insult deserves a reply. Not every battle is worth your blood. When you look at the brain mechanics, it's a constant war between the amygdala screaming danger and the rational mind choosing to pause. That tiny, invisible gap is their superpower. It's why they can look at someone tearing them down and choose silence over a shouting match. They got tired of their own internal warfare, tired of overreacting, regretting, apologizing, explaining. Tired of giving away pieces of their soul to things that didn't deserve it. Let's go back to the childhood roots of this silence. Often, this calm is just highly functional trauma. It's the kid who had to become the adult because the actual parents were falling apart. You learn to walk on shattered glass. You learn to read the room before you even step into it. Is the air heavy today? Is someone going to explode? You become a master of disguise, burying your own needs so deep that you forget where you hid them. That quiet confidence people admire so much, it started as a shield to stay alive in a chaotic home. They learned early on that crying out didn't bring comfort. It just brought more noise, more judgment. So they made a silent pact with themselves. Keep it inside. Lock it down. If nobody knows you're hurting, nobody can use it as a weapon against you. They became their own sanctuary. But a sanctuary can feel a lot like a solitary confinement cell when you're the only one inside. Days melt into months, and you realize you've become an island. People love you for your stability, but they never ask what's keeping you anchored. They don't see the heavy chains under the water. But let's be honest. Sometimes the calmest people carry the loudest explosions inside where nobody can see. Their peace was paid for in private tears, and moments where they felt utterly unseen and misunderstood. They chose to value peace like oxygen because they realized a brutal truth. Reacting to everything makes you a prisoner of everything. The less you react, the freer you become. They might be the ones holding it together during a crisis, only to break down quietly in an empty bathroom afterward. They don't join the chaos. It's a quiet rebellion. They watch people destroy their lives over temporary feelings, a text message sent in anger, a bridge burned in a moment of pride. They've done those things too. They know the sickening regret that waits for you in the morning. They remember sitting on the edge of their bed, head in their hands, thinking, "Why did I let them get to me?" That self-loathing is a harsh teacher. It burns away the desire to be right. Eventually, you realize that protecting your energy is infinitely more important than winning an argument with someone who isn't committed to understanding you. If you ask them what changed, they'll probably just smile, look away, and say, "I just got tired." Tired of the noise pretending to be important. They stop trying to win every argument, rewrite the past, or predict a future that hasn't happened yet. They started trusting that whatever hits them next, they will handle it. Because pain without resistance is just a feeling, but pain with resistance is pure suffering. They don't escape the dark clouds anymore. They just become the stillness right inside them. And honestly, in a world addicted to reaction, that isn't just maturity. That is pure power. There's a profound loneliness in being the strong one. Everyone comes to you when their life is a mess. They lean on your shoulder. They take your advice. They use your calm to steady their own shaking hands. But when the night falls and everyone goes back to their lives, who holds space for the person who holds it for everyone else? You sit in the quiet of your car, watching the rain hit the windshield, realizing you are completely on your own. And the weirdest part? You prefer it that way now. It's because human drama has lost its flavor. You see right through the manipulation. When someone tries to bait you into an emotional reaction, your mind automatically decodes it. You don't see an enemy. You see a wounded child projecting their pain onto you. And that insight changes everything. It takes away the sting of the insult. How can you be angry at someone who is trapped in their own internal hell? You just let them talk. You nod, you walk away, and you let the silence stretch between you like a vast, uncrossable chasm. This is what psychologists call response flexibility, but the clinical term is too cold. Let's call it what it really is: emotional alchemy. It's the rare ability to take a toxic situation, absorb the shock, and diffuse it before it poisons your soul. It takes years of trial and error to get here. You have to fail the test 1,000 times. You have to scream until your throat is raw, lose people you loved, and look at your own ugly reflections in the mirror before you finally learn the art of the pause. Think about how much energy it takes to maintain a grudge. It's like carrying a hot coal in your pocket, waiting to throw it at someone else while your own skin is blistering. Calm people looked at that coal and simply dropped it. Not because the other person deserved forgiveness, but because they couldn't afford to burn anymore. They've rationed their emotional energy. It's become a sacred currency. They won't spend it on internet arguments, minor traffic incidents, or people who only know how to communicate through shouting. They create simple, almost boring routines to keep themselves grounded. A solitary walk in the morning, a hot cup of tea before the world wakes up, writing thoughts down on a piece of paper just to get them out of their head. These aren't just habits. They are lifelines. Without these moments of absolute stillness, the old ghosts start to creep back in. The overthinking tries to reclaim its throne. They protect their peace fiercely, almost aggressively, because they know exactly how terrifying the alternative is. They remember the darkness too well. They've faced the worst versions of themselves and survived. They've looked into the abyss of their own anxiety, their own depression, their own deep-seated childhood abandonment issues, and they didn't run away. They sat with the discomfort until it stopped hurting. That is why they don't panic when the external world gets messy. They've already conquered the monster under their own bed. A bad day at work or a toxic comment from a stranger is nothing compared to the war they fought inside their own skull for a decade. Notice how they move through a crowded room. They don't demand attention. They don't raise their vibration to match the frantic energy around them. Instead, their presence naturally lowers the temperature of the room. It's contagious. You sit next to them and your heart rate slows down. Your shoulders drop. The racing thoughts in your head find a temporary rhythm. They become a human anchor for a floating world. And they do it without saying a single word. Their presence speaks volumes. But remember, their calm is not apathy. They care deeply. In fact, they probably feel things with a raw intensity that would scare most people. The difference is they've learned that expression doesn't require an eruption. You can love someone deeply without losing yourself in them. You can grieve a loss completely without letting the sorrow destroy your future. They let the waves of emotion wash over them. They feel the sting. They honor the pain. And then, they let it pull back into the sea. They don't chase the wave. What happens when you can no longer be manipulated? That is the hidden consequence of becoming this calm. When people realize they can't trigger you, they lose their power over you. Narcissists, toxic friends, dramatic family members, they all feed on your reactions. They need you to yell. They need you to cry. It validates their twisted narrative. But when you look at them with dead, unbothered eyes, it terrifies them. Your peace becomes a mirror that reflects their own ugliness right back at them, and they can't stand the sight. They've learned that closure is an inside job. They don't wait for apologies that will never come. They don't need the person who broke them to explain why they did it. That expectation is just another trap. Instead, they give themselves the closure they deserve by closing the book entirely. They accept that some chapters in life end mid-sentence, without an explanation, without a neat little bow. And they are completely fine with that. They don't need a final word when their silence has already said everything. Look at how they handle failure. When a project collapses or a relationship falls apart, they don't spiral into a victim mindset. They don't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" They ask, "What is this teaching me?" It's a subtle shift in perspective, but it alters your entire reality. They don't view life as an enemy attacking them. They view it as a landscape they are navigating. This mental agility allows them to pivot while everyone else is still mourning the loss of the original plan. They move with the current, never against it. There is a quiet dignity in a life lived without the need for constant validation. They don't post their achievements on social media looking for applause from strangers. They don't need a crowd to tell them they are doing well. Their self-worth is generated internally, away from the noise of public opinion. This makes them incredibly dangerous to a society built on consumption and comparison. You can't sell something to a person who already has everything they need inside their own mind. You can't make them feel small. But don't mistake their stillness for weakness. A calm person is not a doormat. In fact, their boundaries are usually made of iron. Because they don't scream or make a scene, people often underestimate them. They think they can push a little further. But the moment you cross that line, a calm person won't argue with you. They won't make a grand speech. They will simply remove themselves from your life so quietly that you won't even realize they're gone until the door has already locked behind them. Permanently. They understand the brutal math of time. We only get a limited number of days on this earth, and wasting even a single hour on trivial drama feels like a sin to them. They've looked at the big picture. When you realize how small our lives are in the grand scheme of the universe, The things people fight over look ridiculous. Petty jealousy, office politics, superficial status. It all just fades into background noise. They choose to spend their remaining time chasing depth, meaning, and genuine connection. Everything else is just a distraction. So if you're listening to this and you're currently spiraling, look at the quiet ones. Stop trying to fight the wind. Stop trying to force the pieces of your broken life to fit together right this second. It's okay to not have an answer. It's okay to let the silence sit there. You don't have to defend your character to people who are determined to misunderstand you. Let them think what they want. Let the world spin. Take a deep breath. Find that small, invisible pause. Because you are the ocean, and the storm is just passing through.